Hi, Bob Loeffler with fearlessagentrecruiting.com, and I want to tell you my story of my experience in real estate because I think parts of this will help you in recruiting producing agents. So I get into real estate in 1984. I fail miserably for 5 years. So I have a typical real estate experience, honestly. So I'm at an event from a Floyd Wickman Sweat Hogs event is what it was called. So some of you have heard of that. And I'm sitting next to a lady, and she has about 6 months in the business, no closings, no listings, no hope of succeeding. And I'm, 5 years failing. So I remember saying to her, where have they been hiding this? This is real. If we did this, this will work. And this was about sales. And it was really the first time I had ever been exposed to actual sales training. And I don't know what all of that other stuff was, but it had nothing to do with sales. So we sign up and we take that program. It's a 90-day program. 90 days later, she has 19 listings, and I had listings and sales and listings of mine that sold and closings totaling 50. So it was like overnight success 5 years later than I had hoped for, obviously. But we kept retaking that program, and then we ended up joining forces. We ended up being the top producing team of any size for Century 21 in the whole state of Arizona. But along the way in my real estate career, I have had every job except yours. If you are a real estate company owner, I've never had your job, but I've been the bottom agent, I've been the top agent, I've been the men's room attendant, I've been the broker, I've been the trainer, I've been the recruiter, I've been the manager. I've done it all, which gives me a little bit of a unique perspective, but one of my favorite jobs was recruiting. Very rewarding. Maybe I'm lazy, I like it that they come to me, but it's the most profitable job in all of the real estate business. So I worked for a guy one day, and he had bought my company, the company that I worked for, which was a Century 21, and he had a unique perspective on how to do real estate, but he would only hire brand new agents. Now, I don't recommend that, but that was his quirky little thing. He only wanted to take brand new people, and I was the trainer in his office. And our training program was so successful that we would take a brand new person, brand new licensee, and 90 days later, they would be a top producing agent by anybody's standard. So we had that figured out. So I'm also selling real estate. So he comes to me one day and he says, I want you to stop selling real estate, just do recruiting and the training, which was a pretty big commitment because I already had the real estate business. And I said, well, I don't know anything about recruiting. He goes, well, neither do I, but we'll figure it out. So I trusted him and I decided to do that. Well, very quickly, we did not figure it out. And so it was not able to recruit agents like we wanted to, producing agents. So then he sent me to this recruiting training program. It was pretty good, but little by little, we figured it out and we came up with this system that worked fantastic. Now, in his office, he had a metal filing cabinet. And on the side of that filing cabinet, he had the last names of all the agents in descending order of production. Please write this down. I recommend that you do this. So he has all the names in descending order of production, and we reshuffled the deck based on production each month. But the top producing agent was at the top, the bottom producing agent was at the bottom, and then off to the side, he had another shorter list with also in descending order of production of the agents that had been with us for less than 1 year. So what I would do is we would bring these people in for an interview, and I'll tell you how we did that. Now, this is a number of years ago, but we would run blind ads in the newspaper. Again, he doesn't want to recruit producing agents. He wants brand new agents. So we would run an ad in the newspaper, and I'm not recommending this, but you could do it. And it just said sales position available, earn between this and this. And these people would come in, park in front of the Century 21, not realizing it was about real estate until they got there. And I would interview them and I would ask them this series of questions, which we're going to talk about later. But one of the questions was this weed out question. So I would say, how do you think that real estate agents get their business? And almost all of them would say, well, I guess you give us leads and we take buyers out and we show them houses. I'd say, no, it's really more like telemarketing. You would come in here every day, you would sit in one of those cubicles over there, and you would cold call up and down the street, asking people if they want to sell their house. Some of those people would say yes, and then we would teach you a listing presentation. You would go give that to them, and some of those people would say yes to that, and then you'd get the listing, and some of those listings would sell, and that's how we do it. So can you imagine yourself coming in here every day at 9 a.m., sitting in one of those cubicles over there, cold calling for 8 hours? And most of the people would say, oh no, I would never do that. But a small percentage of them would say, sure, I would be happy to do that. And all of those people, we would send them to real estate school, and all of those people would end up being top producing agents by anybody's standards. Now, my job was, when I hired one of those people, I fired the bottom producing agent on the magnet on the bottom. So we always had 35 agents. So what happened from that is it drove up the per agent productivity so high. With 35 agents, it was the highest per agent production I've ever heard of before or since. And we were the number one Century 21 in the whole state of Arizona, and the number 2 producing office had over 350 agents. So the result of that, and this is the secret, is because the per agent productivity was so high, all the producing experienced agents were climbing all over each other, begging me to hire them, but he would not allow me to hire them, which I think was a mistake, but that was the way he did it. The other thing that came from that is, when all the high producing agents from other offers are begging me to hire them, the top producing agents at our office would never leave. So please write that down. That should be a system you should implement. Now, we had very high standards. I had lots of interviews. And Fearless Agent recruiting, training, and coaching is based really on 3 things. One is my experience of recruiting at a very high level for 20 years. But the other one is, there's a book called Spin Selling. And I don't know if you've ever read that, but it's the best book ever written on sales. There will never be a better book on sales. And it's based on a 11-year-long research study on sales, where they analyzed 35,000 sales presentations, and 2 things came out of that. Number 1 is the results never changed. Number 2 is the results were the complete opposite of everything you've been taught about sales. For the last 100 years, sales has always been taught the same way. And it's, you do a bunch of rapport building, but you show the features, but you actually sell the benefits, and then you overcome the objections. And I don't care how you rename it and dress it up and change things, but that's what all sales training is. So they noticed in the research that there was this tiny group of salespeople who were having astronomically better success, but they were doing something different. They were doing no rapport building. And in the research, they figured out that the more rapport building you do, the less likely you are to make the sale. They were doing no features. They were doing no benefits. They were making no promises. There was no 21-point marketing program or anything like that. And because of that, they never had to overcome any objections, because they weren't getting any objections. So if you think about it, if you're going to meet with a recruit and you're not going to do any rapport building, and you're not going to tell them how great your company is, and show them the features and show them the benefits, what are you going to do? Well, what you do is you ask a series of questions. Now, I'm the only person who's ever adapted the spin selling model to real estate, because it was very difficult to do, but it actually works better in the real estate arena than it does in other corporate sales training. And we have some advantages that I think they don't have. So what you do is you ask this series of questions, and it ends up having the recruit sell you on why they should leave the company they're with without you ever mentioning their company. The recruit then sells you on why they should not join your competitor without you ever mentioning their competitor. The recruit ends up selling you on why they should join you and your company, and when you have the recruit selling you on you, you've arrived. So that's built into it. And then the third part is my Fearless Agent coaching program has far higher results. No other coaching program in the history of real estate has ever had results anything like Fearless Agent. And all of the principles of that also apply to recruiting. So the next thing I want to talk about in the next video is your numbers and ask yourself some questions. So I'll see you in the next video.